The hate account Libs of TikTok has apparently been banned from Blue Sky. The account just inspired death threats against children, educators, and medical professionals. Is just one of several anti LGBTQ accounts that have found themselves feeling rather unwelcome on the social media platform. Libs of TikTok account, of course, which whips up outrage against LGBTQ plus adults and queer inclusive school and health policies by accusing them of being groomers, or accusing them of sexualizing the children or indoctrinating the children. Reportedly had a Blue Sky account for just 9 days before becoming the second most blocked account on the platform, according to the Jewel City Times. The account didn't even last a full Scaramucci, which is about 10 to 11 days. So, turns out, message received, transphobia not welcome on Blue Sky, which is why so many people, by the way, have been flocking there. About 24 million users as of last count, my last count at least. The removal of the account sparked celebration from numerous users, including out Representative Robert Garcia, who said, quote, "This is why Blue Sky is going to be a success. Real moderation. Libs of TikTok is racist, homophobic, and actually causes harm to others. They can keep their BS elsewhere." I love it. Now, here's the thing about the creator of Libs of TikTok, the person that runs the account, Kaya Rychik. She's dumb as a brick. I'm not kidding. Like so many other right wingers, she couldn't even tell you, even after railing against it for so long, she still could not tell people what wokeness is.
How do you define wokeness?
Wokeness is the destruction of normalcy and how do you
And the destruction of normalcy, and no, these people operate on buzzwords. That's it. Buzzwords. And just general hatred of anybody who is different. And the thing is, how you know that she is operating in an echo chamber now on Twitter slash X is they don't understand, like, they can't go and explain their worldview to normal people outside because when it comes down to it, they don't really have any real explanation of what it is they don't like, what woke is and what they hate about it. They can't explain it. Tide goes in, tide goes out. Can't explain it. Woke goes in, woke goes out. I can't explain it. We know, we just hate it. Okay. Well, that's how you know you're in a echo chamber. Okay. Now look, here's the thing. Speaking of X, there is a market for it on it. I mean, and the reason is Elon Musk, who owns the platform, is himself a transphobe. Okay. When you look up what he has said about his transgender daughter, you will see, like, it has completely given him brainworms. Okay. And not like the ones that RFK Jr. has, but worse. Okay. Transphobia is a mental illness. All right. That's what it feels like to me. All right. There's something wrong with you when you have that kind of hatred for less than 1% of the population. There's something wrong with you. If trans people are in your brain for that amount of time, if you think about them all the time, there's something wrong with you. There really is. You think about trans people more than trans people do. Okay? There's something wrong with you. All right, but anyway, not now. Blue Sky also removed a post from another transphobic publication, the Babylon Bee. Yes, who basically has their one joke. Okay, now that post crudely misgendered Dr. Rachel Levine, who happens to be the first woman to become a 4-star admiral in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. Pretty impressive. Babylon Bee, did a transphobic post calling her man of the year. So, I mean, just again, gross, but that's who they are. As a result, the post received a label stating that it violated Blue Sky's intolerance policy, encouraging discrimination against protected groups. Now, of course, the right wing loves to say, "Oh, I thought you libs, you lefties, you're supposed to be the tolerant ones." No, no, certainly the left, we're definitely not tolerant. Okay. You know why? Because if you tolerate intolerant behavior, that only leads to more intolerant behavior. All right. I mean, Karl Popper once said this: "We should therefore claim, in the name of tolerance, the right not to tolerate the intolerant. We should claim that any movement preaching intolerance places itself outside the law. And we should consider incitement to intolerance and persecution as criminal in the same way as we should consider incitement to murder, or to kidnapping, or to the revival of the slave trade as criminal." So I'm sorry, but we're not doing the whole, "oh, we must be tolerant of all viewpoints" thing, because some viewpoints are trash. If it hurts other people, it's trash. Throw it away. Transphobia is trash. Homophobia is trash. Sexism is trash. Racism, it's all trash. Real societies throw that stuff away. All right? And I will be extremely intolerant of any viewpoint that contains any of those things. Okay? That's it. No, I'm not going to be tolerant of your BS intolerance. Okay? We're done with that. In fact, one Blue Sky user commented on the post, quote, "Suicide rates in the trans community are high because of bigoted crap like this. Stop it." And again, that's why we shouldn't be tolerant of intolerance, because it hurts people. All right? It hurts people. That's the reality. All right? This is not just like, "oh, I have a disagreement about tax rates, and so let's have a debate on it." Okay, sure. We can debate tax rates, all right, for corporations or whatever. But I'm not going to debate the existence of other human beings. Okay, that's not what we're going to do here. All right, if you don't believe someone is a human being or is an equal person that is deserving of basic human rights and dignities, fuck off. Oh, you don't like that? Sad day for you. All right, suck it. All right. I don't know if I'm clear enough on this. All right. Now that said, after that, Babylon Bee managing editor Joe Barry was very sad. Oh, he was very sad after he received, in return, abusive comments directed towards him, including posts telling him to, quote, "step in traffic," and saying, "your mother should have aborted you." Now, he said, along screenshots of the comments, they said this competing platform to X will be a kinder, less hateful, less toxic alternative, but I'm not really feeling it. Well, you get what you give, dude. If your business model, and that's what it is, by the way, this isn't just because, "oh, I'm putting this out into the world because this is how I really feel." Maybe he does really feel this way, but there's a monetary incentive to all of this hatred, okay? And let's be honest about that. All right? If your business model is putting negativity and toxic crap into the world, as he is, then don't be surprised when that toxic negativity comes back to bite you in the ass. Okay? Simple as that. And by the way, if in case you're thinking that, well, look, X is the free speech site, right? And you're for censorship. But X that's where freedom is. On X, you can't even say the word cisgender without being slapped with a warning. So shut up. Okay, if you're arguing that, okay. Now, that's, by the way, if you're not getting throttled on X, which you are, especially if you're trying to link to actual news sites. And that's if you don't want to be served with right-wing slap posts all day, which is the case on X. No, screw all of that. I'm not interested. The right wing, you can have that shithole. The funny thing is, for them, it's not enough for them to have their own place. They've got X. You can keep it. Have fun with it, right? No, the problem is that they get bored amongst themselves, all right? And maybe they even start to fight with each other. They can't have it. And so, because they're nothing more than reactionaries, they have to have something to react to. Okay? So, that means they've got to follow the left wherever they go. Whatever social media platform the left ends up on, they got to follow because they have no lives. They have to own the libs to justify their own existence online. They also have to, have their business model, which involves just reacting to basically everything, even things that aren't actually true. Okay? They have to do that because without the reaction, they have absolutely nothing. It is a sad life to live, being one of these far-right reactionaries, but it's their life. They chose it. Chief Twit Elon Musk is apparently declaring war on Social Security benefits. In a completely predictable development, the world's richest man is agreeing with Senator Mike Lee's assessment that the popular New Deal program is a nightmare. Well, only for people who have to pay more in taxes for it, yes. And if you're incredibly wealthy, like this man is. Interesting thread, wrote Musk in response to a post by the senator who once said that he hopes to pull Social Security up by the roots and get rid of it, along with, of course, Medicare and Medicaid. In his new thread, Lee characterized Social Security, which lifts more Americans above the poverty line than any other federal program, is as a, quote, tax plan, insidiously disguised as a retirement plan, and condemned the Social Security Act of 1935 as one of the many, quote, deceptive sales techniques in the U.S. government has used on the American people. That's funny because the U.S. government doesn't sell things. It's not a business. It provides services. And that's what Social Security is. It is a service that uses workers' tax money. So workers, they work, get money taken out of their paycheck. And guess what? Later on, that benefit comes back to them. That money comes back to them as a guaranteed benefit. Yes, I know. And by the way, you get it either when you retire or if you become disabled. You get a guaranteed income so that, you can survive and not have to live in complete abject poverty eating cat food. I don't know. It sounds like a great deal to me, right? And it's worked for so many people. In fact, that's why it's one of the most popular, if not the most popular government program in existence. But it doesn't work so well if you're a Wall Street fat cat who wants to take that money and gamble with it on the stock market. Or if you're a social Darwinist that wants to basically see poor people die off because they see them as like subhuman. I'm not sure which one Mike Lee is. Maybe both. Certainly Elon Musk seems to be one of those people who is a more of the social Darwinist type of people, which basically means sociopath. Either way, Lee is still massively lying about the program. All right. Max Richmond, president and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, replied Tuesday that Lee's posts amount to a, quote, misrepresentation of Social Security's history and how the program works. Big shocker, right? There's nothing deceptive about Social Security, he says. The social insurance program has been working just fine for nearly 90 years and has never missed a payment. That's right. Never missed a payment. The kind of propaganda Senator Lee posted undermines public support for Social Security, making it easier to cut or privatize the program. It is perhaps no coincidence that Senator Lee's second biggest campaign contributor by industry is the securities and investment sector. Yes. Lee also claimed the federal government, quote unquote, routinely raids the Social Security Trust Fund. That's not true. All right. So now the reality is the Social Security system actually lends surplus to the Treasury. All the money lent to the Treasury ends up being paid back with market-based interest when Social Security needs the funds to pay beneficiaries. Since the lending does not affect current or future benefits at all, or current or future program revenues, or the balances in the trust fund, there is no negative effect in the trust fund whatsoever. In fact, by lending surpluses to the Treasury, it is actually investing them in the most secure kind of asset, a government bond. Now, when you explain how it actually works, well, you realize that it's not a rate at all, and they're just lying to you. But why? Why do they have to lie? Because it works. It's a program that works. People like Lee and Musk, they hate that it works because it shows that universal government programs to alleviate poverty are actually effective and are popular, and they hate it. Social Security Works, a advocacy group, said on Tuesday that by amplifying Lee's thread to his hundreds of millions of followers, Musk just declared war on Social Security. For 89 years, through War and Peace, boom, time and bust, health and pandemics, Social Security has never missed a single payment, said Alex Lawson, SSW's executive director. Compared to the risky alternatives on Wall Street, which, by the way, you know, we had an entire financial collapse back in 2008. And actually, we routinely have, you know, financial collapses. Okay. And so where the Wall Street markets crash and lots of people lose lots of money, and some even throw themselves out windows as a result. It's never happened with Social Security. It's always been there. And so you want to trust your retirement money with the thing that happens to go boom and bust every, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, as opposed to a program that for over 90 years hasn't missed a single payment. I mean, I know where I'd want to put my money. Okay. Now, he also said if billionaires like Elon Musk paid into Social Security at the same rate as the rest of us on all of their income, we could expand benefits for everyone and pay them in full forever to the end of time. 100% true. You know, the billionaires literally stopped paying into Social Security like within the first day of the year because they hit the cap on taxable earning. And that's it. They don't have to pay anymore. Why don't we remove that cap? Again, you could fund it forever. Oh, wait, the reason that we don't remove the cap is because rich people don't want to pay more. That's the reality. Now, there's more. Lawson said this is a declaration of war against seniors, people with disabilities, and the American public. The Republicans are coming for your Social Security, which they call a nightmare. Elon Musk's commission, the Doge Commission, is a plot to destroy our Social Security by giving it to Wall Street executives so that you get nothing and they get everything. Spitting truth there. We've seen this play again and again. When Republicans destroyed defined benefit pension plans, they claimed that the market would be able to create amazing returns for everybody. Instead, workers got pennies, while Wall Street managers got billions. That is always the plan. We will defeat this Republican effort to steal our earned benefits. The money is ours. Mike Lee, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump, you're not going to get a penny of it. I love how strong that all that statement is. Okay. Now, Richard Fiesta, executive director of the Alliance for Retired Americans, suddenly denounced Lee's thread and Musk's promotion of it to his millions of followers, saying both, quote, should enrage and concern every American who has contributed to Social Security, which would be every single working person who's ever had a job, who's ever worked. So it's all of our money that he's trying to steal. Senator Mike Lee has dreamed about phasing out Social Security and the benefits generations of Americans have earned for more than a decade. His bad ideas have been rightfully ignored, but last night he got a big assist from Elon Musk, who amplified Lee's wrong-headed views about Social Security on X. Social Security is a solemn promise between the American people and the government. We pay for Social Security's guaranteed benefits with every paycheck and expect them to be there when we retire, lose a spouse or parent, or become disabled. No one voted to phase out Social Security or let Wall Street gamble with their earned benefits. Older Americans will rightly punish any politician who tries to cut their benefits or gut the system that has worked for generations. That's true. There is a reason why Republicans, when they're running for office, say, oh, no, we're going to defend Social Security. Even though behind the scenes, they want to cut it, okay, for their donors, all right? There's a reason. It's because it's popular. It's because it works. Now, that said, What about Trump? Didn't he promise not to touch Social Security? Well, yes and no. So on the campaign trail, he's like, I will not touch Social Security or Medicare. I will defend them. But then what? He pushed proposals that would actually weaken the program and speed up the depletion of the trust fund. Okay. So yeah. Not only that, but there's a lot of Republican lawmakers who supported Donald Trump and who Trump supported, and they have called for raising the Social Security retirement age, which is, at the end of the day, a benefit cut. For example, this guy, Rich McCormick.
We can't just talk about the military, though. The military can do some things better. We can save some money just no-money contract. We're going to be careful that we don't decrease our abilities because China is right on our heels. However, if you talk about 75% of the budget, 75% is non-discretionary. We're going to have some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in and talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those challenges on. But we can't just talk about our discretionary budget. That's less than 25% of our budget. We have to have some real hard discussions.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to have some real hard discussions, right? About cutting food and housing and stuff for elderly Americans who can't work. We're gonna have to have that discussion. Why is that a hard discussion that we need to have, and why are we never able to have the discussion of why don't we just tax rich people more? Oh, right. It's because the people in Washington, D.C. who are making these decisions are corrupt and paid for by corporations and wealthy people. And by the way, a lot of our members of Congress are millionaires. So they would end up having to pay more in taxes too. So you understand how this game is rigged. Okay. Now, that said, that guy, McCormick, yeah, he can F straight off. All right. Any Democrat that seriously wants to have a discussion where they put Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid on the table for cuts should be primaried to oblivion and beyond. All right. Gone. All right. Like, no, we're not having that discussion. Okay. Not having it at all.
Bing, 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 boom.
He's gone.
It's gone.
You're gone. You're gone. Get out. You're not a Democrat. F off. Now, that same guy, by the way, when he was asked about defense cuts, he said that he's not really a big fan of that idea. Oh, he's not a big fan of doing cuts to the Pentagon, who just failed their 7th straight audit. Really now? This guy's like, we can't possibly consider cutting the Pentagon budget. China's on our heels. China! It's China! Well, we got to keep up with China by, making seniors and disabled pay. Right. Of course. Now, there's more. Richmond added, it signals where Trump's MAGA allies in Congress are heading towards privatization and benefit cuts, something the majority of Americans across party lines say they do not want. That's right. We don't want that. We don't want cuts to these programs. Simple as that. Simple as that. Now, as far as Musk and his little dog department, okay, Salon's Heather Parton writes this. Musk has been clear that he believes the government has to be cut to the bone immediately, which he admits will cause hardship that we will just have to bear. Of course, he will not bear any of this hardship whatsoever. Well, of course not. It's never the wealthy, it's never the well-off that deal with any kind of hardship. Notice how that always happens to be the case. It's ridiculous. She says, Musk expects people to suffer in order to save the country from bankruptcy, which he has decided is imminent. We literally can't go bankrupt. We print our own money. The country prints its own money. You can't go bankrupt when you print your own money. Now, there are issues, you can create inflation, you can create hyperinflation. We've had inflation, and that's not good. The rate of inflation has slowed significantly. Now, one of the issues that created this high inflation was, of course, greedy corporations that decided we're going to take advantage of the situation and just raise our prices, which explains why corporations are more profitable than they have ever been before. If they were really beset by inflation, they would not be this profitable. Okay? But they are. They are. Now, of course, some of that early inflation was real, and it came from the pandemic that Donald Trump had grossly mismanaged. Okay? But then you had all these bills that passed through Congress, and a lot of it was shockingly corporate welfare. Yes, corporate welfare bills. And they used that spending as an excuse to raise prices, these companies. So not only did they get massive amounts of welfare, in paycheck protection loans, which they didn't, a lot of cases didn't have to pay back. So they had gotten those loans forgiven. But then they decided we're going to pad our pockets even more. Okay, after getting those paycheck protection loans, where we, did massive billions of dollars in stock buybacks. Yes, that's what happened. Now we're gonna, raise prices and blame inflation. All right, we're gonna blame the people that got $2,000 stimmy checks. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna blame them, and then we're gonna laugh all the way to the bank. And of course, when the debt did go up, because it did, they decided, you know what? We're going to pay our cretins in Congress to go and try to cut their Social Security benefits and their Medicare, their health care. Wouldn't that be great? No, it would be terrible. Completely awful. Okay. Now, getting back to Heather Parton, she writes, Russell Vought and his right-wing Christian nationalist allies want to completely decimate the administrative state, so they may just declare that the program is insolvent and cut benefits across the board. So yeah, that's one of the concerns there. Okay, but what about Donald Trump? Again, Donald Trump said he was going to actually protect it, right? I wouldn't count on that because he lies. He lies all the time, and he doesn't actually care about seniors. He's not running for re-election. In fact, she writes that, quote, he never has to face another voter. And that is the only reason he ever promised to keep his hands off the programs in the first place. Trump can do some assaults on the third rail now, and it can't hurt him at all. His party is another story, but he doesn't care about them either. See, there it is, too. Trump's a sociopath. So, did you give crap about the Republican Party? No, not at all. So, I mean, that is pretty dangerous, okay? Look, the fact is that Republicans have had their eyes set on cutting Social Security for a very, very long time. And now, unfortunately, because, and I don't want to go through like all the reasons that Kamala Harris's campaign failed. There were quite a few of them, many of them. Unfortunately, the American people chose Donald Trump and gave Republicans one of the best chances they'll ever have to destroy or weaken it. And unless the people that are going to be affected rise up and say very clearly, very loudly, hands off my money, bitch, then they're going to try to make off with the biggest robbery of the American people that we're ever going to see, that we've ever seen. It appears the Matt Gaetz ethics report is back on the table. According to NBC News, Democratic Representative Sean Casten of Illinois is planning to force a floor vote this week that would require the House Ethics Committee to release the report on the years-long investigation into former Representative Matt Gaetz. The former Florida congressman was being investigated for sex trafficking a minor along with illicit drug use. Okay. Now, the results of that investigation have not come out, meaning that it is not exactly an exoneration. I mean, logically, if it were an exoneration, we would already know the results. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. Matt Gaetz didn't do it. Matt Gaetz didn't do anything wrong. Look, he keeps saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. If anything, if this report were complete exoneration, then Matt Gaetz would be pushing, hey, release the report so that I can prove my innocence. He ain't doing that. Just saying. And in fact, all of the Republicans voted against releasing this before Gaetz took himself out of the running for attorney general. Because remember, Trump had chosen him for that job. The ethics committee, which is evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, voted on party lines to not make this report public. There needed to be a simple majority of congressmen, and that did not happen. Okay. And by the way, since there was no majority in that vote, and because Gaetz withdrew from the AG running and quit his congressional seat, you had Ethics Committee Chairman Michael Guest, a Republican from Mississippi, deciding, well, look, this should be the end of that. Not so fast. Not so fast. Look, even though Gaetz is no longer in the running for Trump's cabinet, nor is he a member of Congress, Kasten still introduced a resolution on Tuesday that would force the bipartisan ethics panel to act. Now, because the resolution is privileged, it must be brought to the floor within 2 legislative days for a vote. Oh, interesting. Now, hold on a minute. Can they really release it now that Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress? I mean, that is the question, right? Well, it turns out, yes. Yes, there is. Yes, they can. Okay. Normally, the committee only has jurisdiction over sitting members of Congress, right? But Republicans, yes, actually introduced a precedent decades ago. So they were able to publicize a committee's report about a former lawmaker months after he had resigned from Congress. So this goes back to the 1980s, back in October 5th of 1987, with Democratic, Representative Bill Boner. No, I kid you not, Bill Boner, who resigned to become mayor of Nashville. Now, the Ethics Committee had released an initial staff report the following December examining allegations that Boner had misused campaign funds, failed to disclose gifts, and had accepted bribes. Ooh. Now, in his defense, I'm sure those gifts were rather hard to refuse. I mean, he wouldn't want to look like a dick to the people who were giving him those gifts. You know what I'm saying? I know. I'm terrible.
Tallywhacker.
Okay. But there's precedent. Very important, right? The classic Boner case established precedent, and here we are. It's there's so much irony in this story. I love it. So anyway, let's see the report. Let's see it. And by the way, if the report is as bad as many of us are expecting, and maybe it won't be, all right, maybe it will be a nothing. Maybe it won't be so bad. But if it is, then it wouldn't reflect well on the Justice Department. Remember, the Biden Justice Department, okay, Merrick Garland, who dropped their probe of Matt Gaetz. Okay, I'm just saying, it would not look good on them if this ethics report comes up and shows evidence that Matt Gaetz indeed did sex traffic a minor. That would be bad. Now, Kasten had similarly introduced a resolution the week before Thanksgiving, but, since Congress had to go on their holiday, because that's more important than anything, right? They had to leave it. It expired. But the new version has been updated to include 4 examples of past instances where the Ethics Committee had released reports after members had left office, including the Boner report. The Committee on Ethics, he said in a statement, has on many occasions released its reports on former members. Resigning from Congress should not allow members to avoid accountability for allegations as serious as those faced by Matt Gaetz. Withholding this report from the American people would impede the dignity and integrity of the legislative proceedings of the House. All right, hey, look, those are good reasons right there, right? And the bigger reasons for me specifically that I want to see it is, for one, I want the truth. I want the truth. And yes, I can handle the truth. Okay. One way or the other, right? It'd be interesting to see. But why that should matter is, remember, his political career is not over. Yes, he resigned from Congress. Very likely, he may end up running for governor of Florida. That would be kind of important to know whether or not he's a sex trafficker, if he's going to run for that seat, okay? Or he could get appointed by Donald Trump to an acting position in the next administration. Now, being an acting to whatever, right? Whatever Donald Trump would want to put him in, what position, remember, that would not require Senate confirmation because he's acting. Okay. So it's one way that the Trump White House has, and we saw this during the last administration, right? Where they could get around the Senate confirmation process by just putting a bunch of acting people in charge of things. So that is one way that he could end up getting Matt Gaetz into that position, or any position he chooses. That's why it's important to know. All right? You got to release the report. You got to release the report. And again, if he had done nothing wrong, then, well, it would be a hell of an exoneration. And they could shout it from the rooftops. And that would do a lot to help Matt Gaetz' career and his political aspirations. Okay, good for him. But at the same time, if it's not an exoneration, then I think the American people deserve to know who they might be either electing to run a state, or who Donald Trump would appoint as an acting member of his cabinet, or whatever his political or, economic aspirations are in the future. Again, it would just really be important to know if he is a criminal. That's all. Release that report. New York City Mayor Eric Adams recently made a bit of an error when speaking about the rights of immigrants, specifically claiming that they don't have any. During his weekly City Hall press conference, the mayor, who has been indicted on federal corruption charges, told reporters that undocumented immigrants actually have no rights at all under the Constitution. He said, quote, "The Constitution is for Americans. I'm not a person that snuck into this country. My ancestors have been here for a long time." Now, here's the thing. This guy's technically a Democrat, but sounds a lot like Donald Trump. I mean, the Democratic Party, we've seen them lurching to the right on immigration. Okay. This last election is a great example. And so, look, I'm not surprised to see this. But again, this is not true. Okay. According to immigrants' rights, experts and the Constitution. For example, Alora Mukherjee, the director of the Immigrants' Rights Clinic at Columbia Law, said the mayor's claim has no basis in law. That's it. She said the laws set forth in the Constitution generally apply to everyone present on U.S. soil, whether or not they are a citizen and regardless of their immigration status. So, wrong. Now, okay, to be fair, let's look at the context of what he said. During his press conference, the mayor basically said that undocumented people who had committed crimes should be deported immediately. Well, okay, but that's without standing a trial. The thing is, in this country, we do have a little thing called due process. All right? Under the 4th and 5th Amendments, everyone on U.S. soil has the right to due process, to stand trial for the crimes of which they are accused. If we did not have that, things would get very, very bad. I mean, how easy would it be for someone to, just accuse another person of being an undocumented immigrant, okay, and then get them deported? I mean, if they don't have a chance to defend themselves in court, with due process, then you would have American citizens just getting deported. That would not be good. Due process is how you can prove your innocence and how you can prove that you're actually, an American citizen. Okay. So this is why this is a bit of a problem. Okay. I actually do believe in law. I do believe in the Constitution. Apparently, he don't. Now, Adams' comments rightfully prompted criticism from immigrant activists and advocates. In fact, Murad Aweda said, and this is president of the New York Immigration Coalition, quote, "Mayor Adams is wrong. He is ripping a page from Trump's playbook, stoking fear and spreading disinformation. We should be able to expect that the mayor of New York City has a basic understanding of the constitutional rights of the people he serves." You would think. But again, this is the same mayor who has been indicted over corruption charges. So maybe there's a lot that he doesn't understand. Public advocate Jumaane Williams later issued his own statement accusing the mayor of scapegoating migrants, saying, quote, "He denigrated immigrants and non-citizens as unworthy of basic rights. His rhetoric is as dangerous to our city as his leadership has been harmful." Damn. So look, this guy's corrupt as hell. And I think, personally, that he's looking for that sweet Trump pardon once Trump gets into office. Why do I say that? Well, I mean, you can hear he's going full MAGA, okay? He's talking about how he wants to scale back, sanctuary cities. We don't like that here. We're going to scale back those rules in New York City. And I am so interested in working with the Trump White House. In fact, on Tuesday, Adams told reporters that he had reached out to meet with Tom Homan, Trump's appointed border czar, who has threatened Democratic governors with prison time and mayors who refused to go on along with Trump's mass deportation plan, which would not only be expensive, incredibly costly, but also a humanitarian disaster, okay, which would probably necessitate the usage of literal prison camps. Something that we haven't seen since World War II, okay, in this country. That would be disastrous. And just, a humanitarian disaster. Now, Homan has also said that he would use the military to assist with the deportation program and order things like workplace raids. So, now, here's the thing. I'm not against deporting undocumented immigrants who commit violent crimes against people, right? Just as long as they have their fair trial, okay? They're constitutionally entitled to due process. That's it. They deserve a fair trial. The Constitution applies to them because they are on U.S. soil. All right? Simple as that. Simple as that. Look, at the end of the day, this is not a gigantic issue, okay? When it comes to crime, immigrant crime specifically. I know Donald Trump will say one thing, and then you've got Mayor Adams saying the same thing, but also admitting that it's the opposite. In reality, according to research, immigrant communities are responsible for lower rates of crime than U.S.-born citizens. If you're going to blame them for crime, they're bringing the drugs, they're bringing the crime, not as much as Americans. In fact, look, there are, this fentanyl is coming over the southern border. Hey, who's getting caught with that fentanyl? U.S. smugglers. Americans bringing it over because there's American demand. So, I mean, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, okay, you end up having just, American citizens doing more crime than immigrants. Because when you think about it, if you're an undocumented immigrant, you come over, the last thing you want to do is be caught, right? And put a target on your head by doing crime. So it doesn't make any sense, right? If you just generally try to keep a low profile and keep your nose clean and, do what you can to work, support your family, in the hopes that maybe one of these days you can get some sort of, pathway to citizenship. Or just be able to, live long enough, keep out of sight long enough so that you can live your life here without having too much worry of getting hauled off to a country that probably tried to kill you. Because that's the reality with a lot of immigrants, a lot of migrants who are fleeing these kinds of situations where you have a corrupt government, or you have some sort of human rights abuse, or if you have like a natural disaster that has destroyed large swaths of the country, or if you have, military coups that might have been, helped by U.S. forces and drug policy to do a violent coup, things like that. If you've got those issues, then you're not going to want to go back to that country, okay? Especially when you've come here and you've built a life for yourself and a family and things like that. So understand that that's the kind of people that Donald Trump is going to try to deport and may succeed with the help of people like Mayor Adams, okay? Look, if you're blaming immigrants for all the ills of our society, then you're not actually talking about the real problem. A lot of the ills of our current society are actually the fault of rich people. That's the unfortunate truth. Economic conditions, because we have a kleptocratic oligarch class that is stealing from the rest of us and then telling us to blame the immigrant, to blame the people that are in a worse financial position than we are as working class people. And so that's the realities of the situation. But anyway, look, I don't think doing racist, xenophobic scapegoating is going to help. It's not going to solve any problems. And unfortunately, it's just too easy for people to do. And that's what frustrates me. Look, I'm not saying that undocumented immigration doesn't have its bad, effects, right? Does it stress resources? Yeah, absolutely. When you have, large groups of migrants, people who are refugees, yeah, that's going to stress any resource, of course, right? But at the same time, blaming them for all the bad stuff that is happening is just counterfactual. Now, here's the other thing, right? One of the reasons that illegal immigration is a problem is mainly because our system is really, really bad at being able to welcome new immigrants in and have them become citizens. Okay? Our system is slow, old, outdated, expensive, and overall difficult and time consuming to go through. You can be here, working on citizenship for like 20, 30 years and still not be a full citizen. Okay. It takes a lot of time and money to become a citizen of the United States. That's one of the big problems here. And one of the reasons that it doesn't get solved is because the right wing, for them, it works perfectly. Not only do their donors get cheap labor from undocumented people, okay, that they can pay less than others, all right, than Americans, but they have a great little scapegoat for when their own policies do more to rob the average American than any immigrant has ever even dreamed of, okay? So that's the reality, and it's why they never want to actually solve the immigration problem. I know all of you MAGA people who might be watching are like, no, he's going to get rid of all the immigrants. No, he's not. Not going to happen. So that's a pipe dream. And congratulations, you have bought it hook, line, and sinker. And now you're going to allow for Trump and Republicans to do one of the biggest robberies of the middle class, what's left of it, and the American people that we could ever imagine. And you've got people like Eric Adams who wants to help. So screw this guy, all right? I hope they find him guilty of corruption. I hope he's removed from office. And I hope that if he ends up getting prison time, that Trump refuses to pardon him. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.